invite you to take a walk with me back down memory lane. Let's go all the way back to my fifth grade elementary school year at Vollentine Elementary School in Memphis, Tennessee, which is my hometown. Every day at 3 o'clock, the school bell rang. And all the other kids in my classroom, well, they ran for the door, lunch boxes flying left and right, already dreaming about those snacks and cartoons that were waiting for them when they got home. You see, I stayed behind after school. Now, I didn't stay behind after school because I was in trouble, if that's what you're thinking. Oh, no, 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 no. You see, I was in training and I had goals. The big school spelling bee was coming up in just a few weeks, and I wanted to win. My fifth grade school teacher was named Mrs. Goldie Harrell. Now, Mrs. Harrell saw something in me that I hadn't yet learned to see in myself. I was smart, I was curious, and I darn sure was competitive. So, for weeks before this time, Mrs. Harrell would gather up all of her classroom on Fridays in the back. We would line up in a single file row and step up to do our spelling drills. Each one would step to the front of the line. We would get a word and try to spell it. And if we got it right, we got a chance to go back to the back of the line and try again. But if we got it wrong, then we had to sit down. So after a few weeks of this, I was the last person standing and declared the winner of Mrs. Harrell's fifth grade classroom spelling bee. Now, it was at that time that Mrs. Harrell tapped me on the shoulder and said, Kimberly, I think you can do this. Now, in my fifth grade mind, I heard her say, Kimberly, you're one of the smartest kids in my room. And I believed her. So from that moment on, every day after school, I would come to Mrs. Harrell's room and we would do our spelling drills. And I learned thousands of words until finally it was the day for the big school spelling bee. I still remember like it was yesterday going into the auditorium with the spelling bee champions from the rooms all over the school. We stood on the stage like little tiny samurais and one by one got our words. So after a few rounds of this, you know, I was spelling my words, remembering all the things Mrs. Harrell told me, and suddenly I was the last one standing yet again. I won the big school spelling bee, and I can remember that day like it was yesterday. All the applause and the biggest smile on Mrs. Harrell's face at the back of the classroom or the auditorium. Now, that moment mattered, but not because I won, but because it was one of the first times I truly felt seen. You see, when someone recognizes your brilliance that early, it becomes a compass. And I want you to remember that thought. Several years later, I would find myself in a very different classroom. It was my freshman year of college at Vanderbilt University. I was an engineering major in one of the top universities in the US, and it was my first day of class. I can still remember walking over to the engineering building and going into the seminar room that included about 200 students, almost all of them male, almost all of them white, and me. I sat in the middle of the seminar hall, and the dean of the school started to ask all the students in the room a various amount of questions. He finally got to the question about, well, have any of you come in as new students with AP credits? Immediately, my ears perked up and I got excited because I was like, this is my moment, just like back in Mrs. Harrell's fifth grade class. You see, I was an honors student for all my school years, and I came to college with multiple AP credits. So I was like, he's talking about me. This is my moment. And I looked around the room and noticed that no one was raising their hand. And so I slowly but surely raised up my hand. But you know what happened? The dean didn't even acknowledge me. It was like I was invisible, not even in the room. Now, in that moment, I questioned everything. Did I belong here? Maybe he didn't see me. But then the truth of it was, of course, he saw me. I was the only little black girl in that room. He chose not to see me. So in that moment, I had to make a decision. I could either shrink myself and make my own self invisible, or I could keep going. And so I decided to keep going. Now, that wasn't the only time I was made to feel invisible in spaces where I was the only one. Later on in my career in corporate boardrooms and tech spaces, even on my first job, I remember going to the job site as a project manager with my hard hat, clipboard, and my steel toe shoes on my first big construction project to meet the foreman of the construction company and having him ask, well, when is the project manager going to arrive? And I felt a little bit confused because, fam, she's standing right here. Now, the thing that was similar about all of these situations is that in each and every moment, these individuals could make me feel like I didn't belong, but they could never erase my preparation. I founded Black Girls Code in 2011 with 6 girls, 6 computers, in a borrowed computer lab in a basement. All I had was a vision to help these girls learn to believe in themselves and that they could become creators and innovators and the leaders of tomorrow. And we did that. We reached over 100,000 students in the US and South Africa and literally became a global movement. But here's the thing about being a Black woman in tech: you can build the table, you can bring all these chairs, and even cook the meal and still be asked to leave the room. A few years ago, I was forced to step away from the organization that I built from the ground up from nothing. I still remember all the headlines, all the whispers, all the chances and opportunities people took to erase me from my own story. When I tell you that was one of the most painful experiences of my life, I'm not exaggerating. It took a lot and a very long time to heal from that moment. But in the midst of my valley, I could hear a small voice in the back of my head whispering, Kimberly, keep going. Now, there was also another voice that I heard in the midst of this healing journey, and this one was a lot more louder and boisterous. And it said, girl, do you know who you are? You're the Vollentine Elementary Spelling Bee champ. Now, that may make some of you laugh, but that became my rallying cry and my reminder that I know how to prepare, I know how to practice, and I know how to win. And nobody gets to tell me where I belong but me. Because here's the thing I want you to remember today about resilience. And this, especially for the young engineers in the room and the young innovators. Resilience is not about never falling. That's not what it is, babies. Resilience is about remembering who you were before someone in the world tried to tell you who you weren't. You see, in that moment in this valley of healing, I understood something. I used to think that my life was about my work, and losing something that was so embedded in my soul meant losing myself. But I came across this idea that literally stopped me in my tracks. Every creator knows that their work in the creation process is a symbiotic effect. In the process of creating, they themselves are created. So I thought I was just teaching these little girls how to code and building a movement, but the movement was building me. I thought I was creating safe spaces for my girls and my babies, but I was recognizing the spaces where I truly belonged. That little girl who stayed after school to practice her spelling bee words, well, she was always a creator. She is someone I had to find my way back to. And in the process of finding my way back, I was able to reclaim her for me. So, this is what I want to leave you with today. And I hope that you remember this. We are not defined by what we build, we are defined by who we become in the process of building, especially important for we as innovators. Because the truth of the matter is, you can always start something new and build again. That's easy. That's the easy part. Legacy is not some abstract concept that we just plop and it becomes a thing. Legacy is about knowing that we can rise, knowing that we can recreate, knowing that we can reinvent ourselves on our own terms, time and time again. Thank you very much.